Hello, beautiful thrivers. Mel here, live on Facebook and Instagram, and I want to talk to you today about the narcissist and their false self. So, this is a live Thriver TV, which I'm going to be also streaming to, I'll be putting it up to YouTube later. But I wanted to come in about this really important topic, the narcissist and their false self, because I know that you're wondering what you're dealing with, and often it literally feels like a demon possession. And you've seen narcissists in those times where their eyes turn, and it's like, who are you? I want to simplify things for you today. I want to take you, it's a deep dive, but it's a really simple dive because there's so much information out there and there's so much focus on narcissists. But what do we really need to know to take our power back? I think that's the important question. And what do you really need to know to be able to heal for real from this, to identify it and get out to the other side of it? So, in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about what really is driving a narcissist? Why do they act the way that they do? Are they even aware of their actions? And how can we elevate our consciousness and shore ourselves up to be able to protect ourselves from this and to be able to rise above it? So let me know where you're tuning in from, where you are in the world, how are you doing? And thank you for joining me today for this important conversation. Because narcissists are not normal people, and the normal lens that we could look at people through to try and operate and deal just isn't appropriate when you're working with a narcissist because you're dealing with something completely different. Now, what I'd love to encourage you to do is please share this video during our live broadcast or afterwards. And also, liking and commenting on the video is going to help spread this important message because I'm really passionate about quantum processes. And if you're new to my work, the way that I work is allowing people to connect to the power inside of themselves and the consciousness that they have inherently. All of us have that ability to be able to switch into healing from frequency, from emotions, from somatic self, rather than trying to do it cognitively, which is the long way around and it generally doesn't work. So, my information, my processes are to help you not just survive narcissistic abuse, but to be able to thrive after it durably for real. Now, if you want to transform your experiences, if you're sick of a failed recovery or stunted, or you feel like it's one step forward and two steps back, dealing with a narcissist, or even years later after being hit by the narcissistic truck, if that's been you and you want to break through, I want you to declare it for yourself. Write thrive on in the comments because that's opening your heart and your power to say, that's what I want. That's what I want to rise into. And that's what I'm passionate about helping you achieve. Because narcissistic abuse is not meant to be a life sentence. It can be a springboard to something so much greater and higher. Okay, so let's dive into our lesson today. And I'm seeing that you're writing Thrive On. That's awesome because you deserve it. We all deserve it. And I love that. We totally and completely and utterly do. All right, so let's get into our lesson for today. So, the false self, what is that? Okay, I completely believe it's an ego mechanism, and I love what the late Wayne Dyer used to say. He called it edging God out. So, what does that really mean? If we think of God's source creation, if we think of the law of one, it's connection, it's empathy for self, for others, for all of existence. Narcissists aren't that, they're separated from that. And that's what an ego does. It pulls you out of connection. So the ego disconnects narcissists from themselves, and it's always the ego, which is like a construction of itself. It's actually its own entity. And that's the thing that you see when it glares back at you. When a narcissist is triggered or on the defensive, it's like you are coming across this, let's just say, monster. You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. It. That's an ego run amok. Now, what an ego is, disconnected from others emotionally, somatically, disconnected from source, disconnected from the field, disconnected from all that is. An ego feels like it's separated and out on the outer. It feels empty, and it actually feels unlovable and unacceptable, but there's a huge mask, there's a huge cover up that's happening with that. So the ego is always seeking something outside of itself to try to feel whole on the inside. It's this perpetual anxiety. I'm empty. I feel like a black void. I don't know where my next sustenance is coming from. It's a really primitive survival program of I have to be planning my next hit of supply, my stuff, my attention, my acclaim, the things that are going to make me feel better about myself, because I really don't feel good about myself. Being separated from source, wholeness, and everything that is genuine, real, authentic sustenance, which is a feeling. It's not even got anything to do with stuff. But a narcissist equates a good feeling to stuff. Narcissists are so deeply entrenched in that version of themselves, and they're internally wounded and empty. They're constantly seeking external validation, the proof that they're valuable, the proof that they exist. And that's an attempt to try to fill that void that is always threatening to engulf them. But it's a futile effort, because inner wholeness and peace is a state between us and ourselves. And when you start connecting to higher consciousness, it becomes your organic true state. But in lower consciousness, in separation consciousness, it's me against them, and it's victimhood, and I'm always feeling empty trying to get stuff. Narcissists can't fill the void no matter what they get. So it's like a drug addict. And a drug addict is, it doesn't matter what I get, I'm only ever going to get temporary relief, because I've never dealt with the wounds and the emptiness that are underneath that are causing me to be like that. The drug is never the problem. A drug is the self-medication covering up the real problem. And the real problem for a narcissist is they don't have a connection to their inner beings. They're not operating with their inner being. They've completely covered it over with an ego, which is a false construct. It's not a real self. The real self is catatonic and discarded in a corner, which is ironically what narcissists end up doing to other people. But more on that soon, because you're going to be able to connect the dots here. So for a narcissist, their life is revolving around feeding a false self. What can I get? What attention? Look at me. For good or bad, it makes no difference. If I trigger you and you're in terrible pain and trauma and distraught and you feel like dying, it feeds my significance. It makes me feel important. That's an ego construct, because it's hard for us to understand how somebody could enjoy that, knowing that you're destroying another person. But for a narcissist, it's such an acclaim, because I must be significant, I must be important, I must matter, because somebody is so affected by me. And it's very sad, but that's exactly how they roll. So a narcissist's life revolves around feeding this false self. I've got to get the attention, I've got to get the acclaim, I've got to get the energy. I can't just be. And I certainly can't contribute and lean into others because that's going to siphon out this energy I don't have. I always have to get it. So when a narcissist is low on supply, which is often, think of a drug addict who's always after their crack, and then a dealer can't deliver and they're low. What are they going to do? They're going to act out, aren't they? So a narcissist absolutely is triggered into a narcissistic injury when they're low on supply. And this false self that is always needy, always so insecure and always so needy, as soon as it's not getting what it needs to regulate, it's going to get triggered on a hairline trigger. And this is why this false self isn't solid and mature, and it's not healthy at all, which is very low consciousness. And we can all be there when we're triggered and when we're in wounds, but this is the normal state for a narcissist. And they're triggered, and that's when they're going to react. And they're going to blame you. And this is why it's your fault all the time. Because the narcissist, for them to take personal responsibility, though, it would have to be an inner dialogue or a shared dialogue like this. I know I'm triggered because I've got wounds that I haven't healed, and I need to look at that and do something about it. The narcissist does not want to go inwards to the true self, which is catatonic, broken, and completely discarded. Does not want to go to that true self. Will do anything to hide it, cover it up, and keep the false self running. Keep that motor running. And how they need to do that is to keep living in the delusion that this has nothing to do with me. It's all about you, and it's your fault, and you're to blame. And that's what a false self will do as soon as it's triggered, and it's triggered into an insecurity. And an insecurity is anything that doesn't match the expectation of the feed that the false self needs to maintain itself. So let me say that again. The trigger is going to be anything that does not live up to the expectation of the false self requirement in any given moment. Now that can change. The goalposts completely change all the time. So, if a narcissist is not really low on narcissistic supply, they've had lots of attention and acclaim, or they've just bought a shiny new car, or got a, if it's a woman, she's just got a Gucci handbag, whatever it is, that's fed the false self. Well then, maybe their levels are not so bad. But let's say the levels have dropped and they haven't got their drug. And maybe, that true self, which really feels defective and broken and unlovable, has started bubbling up, and the critical inner voice is hitting them, and they're feeling despair and desperation. Well, the false self will kick in, and it will attack something outside of itself to blame. So if you're in the vicinity, it's your fault. And maybe the false self will say, well, you don't care about me. You didn't do this for me. You didn't bring me that. You didn't meet me at the door. You didn't. All of that stuff. It looks like something has just happened here on Facebook. Let me just have a look. I think I might have dropped off. No, I haven't. It was just something else popped up. That's all good. So the stuff that could go on in technology. So that's when you're like, but hang on a minute, you've just changed the rules. Like, what you demanded from me yesterday, and I did, and now you're not happy with it. And now you're actually saying that I need to do something else for you now. Like, you don't even know where you are in the game at any given time, because the narcissist keeps moving the goalposts. And really what they're doing is they're adjusting the outer pressure and the outer reality to try to regulate narcissistic supply. That's why none of it will actually make sense to you. So it's your fault. And really how it goes is, how dare you not give me the right type or amount of narcissistic supply right now to keep me away from being engulfed by my inner wounds. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what you do or what you don't do, you are never going to meet that demand because it's impossible. Nobody else can make somebody else feel safe and whole and connected to the law of one and, oneness. Nobody can grant that to another. That's an inside job. And it's important that we remember that for ourselves as well. Okay, so let's have a look at the act of being a narcissist, because it is an act, but it's not an act that they can put aside. And the reason is because a narcissist is not an authentic human being. Authenticity means being true to oneself. A narcissist's real self is broken, and it's been overshadowed by the ego, which is a fictitious character of who they wish to be. That's the bottom line. So they're living through a false self. Narcissists are chameleons. They don't have a true identity because the true self is catatonic. It's, DEAD. It's just not there. So they make it up as they go. And this chameleon can shapeshift, and it does. I can pretend I'm into that. I can tell you what you want to hear. I can look you straight in the eyes and I can lie to you. I can act a completely different way as I would with somebody else, as I would with that other person, because my goal is not to be me. My goal is to get supply to feed my false self. There's no true identity there. And there's no secure, authentic self to fall back on for a narcissist. So it's a charade. It's a performance to gain attention, significance, materialism, and even envy. Narcissists love being envied. And they're always comparing themselves to others, and they prefer superiority to feeling inferior. Their true self feels inferior. Their false self covers it up with incredible superiority and entitlement. So the narcissist will lie. They'll do and say whatever it takes. And to them, it's not immoral. Like, to us with a conscience, we're like, well, that's kind of really, like, we're not wired that way. Like, it's wrong. It's wrong to pathologically lie. It's wrong to manipulate. It's wrong. And also too, a lot of us will go, well, I don't even want the karma for that. Like, it's just not possible for me to be like that. Whereas for a narcissist, they're amoral. They know what they're doing to an extent. And this is important. They know that they lie and they manipulate and they scheme. They know they do it. But they don't feel bad about doing it because they believe that that's what's necessary. Like, it's a means to an end. I have to be that way in the world to get my share of the goodies. There's no other way to do it. That's how they literally feel. They also literally believe that everybody else thinks like that and is wired like that. And they actually even think that if people aren't, shame on them. Like, that's ridiculous. How could you even think about being wholesome and having a good life? That's how they literally roll, which is really creepy because they're not a source force. Those of us who know when you upshift and you up level and you get authentic and source God creation, the law of oneness has your back, you're more powerful than you've ever been in your entire life. But because they can't even sense or feel that, you need a true self to run that through your system, and they don't have it. So that's why they never graduate to that level of the light repels all darkness. And I'm an incredible manifester. They're in lower consciousness playing out the me versus you, 3D separation game. And they think they're winning, but they're not. They're always chasing their tail and having to rebuild their life again and again and again because none of it's real. It's not real. It's not durably real. It's a never ending cycle of having to go through the same tailspin over and over and over again. The drug addicts, and they never land home. So, which is interesting. Let's have, from a relationship point of view, narcissists are not real people. We've covered that. There's no real human being in there. And it's actually whatever was the real human being, if it was, it's actually a slave to the false self anyway. There's been a takeover. The narcissist is is being controlled by the false self, by the ego entity overlord that is running the personality. And a lot of narcissists have even said that it's, when they admit it, that it's like they're in a car and somebody else has taken the wheel and they know that it's going to be a horrific crash and they're kind of watching themselves detached, but they can't stop behaving and doing the things that they do. And that's what unconsciousness does in triggers. And they've got it in spades. Now, because there's no real person there, a narcissist certainly does not love themselves. So they don't treat themselves as real people. Like a narcissist doesn't turn inwards and self-soothe and, support themselves and congratulate themselves, or, give themselves encouragement and kindness and compassion and self-soothing and self-love, which is an essential human trait. And as thrivers, we really learn that stuff. It's been big for all of us. Any self-talk that they do to themselves is scathing. It's disgusting, actually. And which is why they love to have the narrative, look at me, I'm so gorgeous, I'm amazing, I'm so hot, I'm sexy, everybody loves me, everybody envies me. That's just crap talk. That's not encouraging talk. It's just garbage talk. And that's the only positive. It's not positive, but that's the only positive talk that they give themselves. But when they're sad and alone and they're low on supply and they're, ringing everybody and trying to hook up to old supply to get a feed because they're low, the self-talk that they're going through at that time is disgusting. It's shocking. So, narcissists treat themselves and others as objects for narcissistic supply. Everything, including themselves, is a vehicle to get supply for the false self. So that means you're not worth emotional validation or valuation. You're not valued or validated at all because they don't see you as a self, because there's no self and they don't see themselves as a self. Everything's an object for narcissistic supply. So you're not worth it, because why would you be a self? You're not to them. So you're only validated and valued for what supply you bring to the table. And at the start of a relationship, or when they're love bombing you or manipulating you, they can, be so grateful and so gracious and so magnanimous and so gorgeous. But really it's because in their own head, they've pumped you up as the most amazing supply. But really you're the relief of the emptiness and the low supply that just happened. like the breakup, and they're replacing you. You're replacing that breakup with you. They're chasing you because they love to wipe out their past and change movie sets. So you're the new movie set, you're the new role, which is so big and exciting. It's narcissistic supply. So that's what goes on, you know. So I'm just looking at some notes I've got here because I don't want to forget anything. So as soon as you're not providing and regulating supply in the moment for them adequately, which just means they're going to have a narcissistic injury, which is always only a moment away, then this stops. You're going to start getting blamed. Okay, or they're going to, withdraw that magnanimous, generous, beautiful nature that they had. They start getting moody, they start getting nasty. And you, of course, because it's just human, normal interaction, you're going to question this or ask, is there something wrong? And if they come out with something awful, you're going to say something, because that's what relationships should be. You should be able to be honest with each other and ask people. And then you cop it, you get it. Because now, not only are you not giving them the expectation of narcissistic supply the right way that was going to get them out of their own wounds, you are now critiquing them, questioning them, interrogating them, or defying them. And it may only be this big, but to them it's huge in low supply. So you're going to be devalued. They're going to set on you. And then the discards come, and the discards can be emotional or they can be literal, where they will, and this is where in devalue and discard, a narcissist's runaway train will seek to hurt you. Absolutely hurt you, punish you. So you may be threatened with abandonment, you may be told you're not good enough, they don't want to be with you anymore. They can flip from adore to abhor you on a dime. And you're devastated, of course. And then what you discover, which adds insult to injury in your devastation. Now, this is really when you see that entity that is soulless. And this is the entity that is the ego, that is the false self, that is the possession takeover. It's like, let me know, just say yes in the chat if you've seen that, where the eyes are like, there's just no life in them, and they are completely cruel. And you're just devastated, and there's nobody home. There's nothing to support you in any sense. And they don't care. They literally, there's no care for your well-being whatsoever. You've experienced this. If you've had narcissistic abuse, I know you've experienced this, and you feel soul destroyed. It's horrible. So now the thing is, they don't care about you. But they actually don't even care about themselves either. They literally don't care. Why am I saying that? Because they're going to blow this relationship to bits. And, there may be kids involved. There could be property. There could be businesses. Could be houses. The trust is destroyed. Intimacy is going to be ruined. All sorts of fractures happen from that level of cruel behavior that a false self delivers. And the runaway train does not care. They don't care about themselves either. Like you think, a lot of people think, well, they only care about themselves. A narcissist actually doesn't care about themselves, because they have to pick up and reform and reframe and recreate a life over and over and over and over again, because they destroy everything where they go. And you may say, well, the narcissist in my life has been with somebody for 20 years. They've still destroyed the soul of that person, and they're still doing narcissistic supply outside of the relationship, which they're probably having to lie and deceive about and always chasing their tail and always having dramas. So they wreck their own lives too. They really do. And I promise you, when you understand where narcissists end up at the end of their life, nobody would, because you pass away how you live. Nobody would envy them when you see how they all end up. It's never pretty. So, maybe that can give you some comfort, but it's exactly the truth. So they inevitably destroy intimacy and relationships. Now let's bring it all back to us, because this is really important. And this is what I'm passionate about, is not just about people learning about narcissists. Like, I love giving them the truth and the straight truth so that you understand what you're dealing with. But ultimately, you're never going to deal unless we deal with ourselves. We have to take our power back to deal, and we've got to be mature adults and conscious humans to not just play victim and stay victim and just keep our focus on them and researching them, because that leads to a shit life and not a thriving life. And that's my straight talk. So to get to a thriving life, to come out of this and to grow and to heal and expand and be impervious to this in the future, takes our own self-recognition. And it doesn't mean we've been bad people. We're not bad people. It means we've actually been pretty bad to ourselves. And there's a better way. Narcissists do a great job of waking us up to this, by the way. Okay, so what I want to talk about is, why are we an attraction force to a false self? What happened there? Now, I love quantum law. It changed my life. It saved my life. And the reason it did, it handed me the power back. So quantum law is really, really simple. And what it is so within, so without. As within, so without. So what it means is, whatever's going on inside of me is my inner universe interfacing with my outer universe, and I'm going to get the evidence of it. Now, don't get funky and think that because you've got a narcissist in your life or been smashed by one, don't think that that means you're a narcissist. It doesn't. What it means is that you've got unhealed traumas and belief systems that match up with the stuff that that person has been smashing you with. And it's actually a relationship you've been having between you, yourself, your higher self, your source force, which is who you are as a human being. That relationship has had some fractures, which has let that demon get in the gate. Now, when you look at it from there and make you the interesting introspection, that's when you start getting out of this, because you think narcissists are fascinating. They're actually not. They're actually quite boring once you work out how they tick, because they all tick the same way. And it's pretty basic, to be honest with you. Us, on the other hand, are incredibly fascinating and amazing. And when you turn your focus this way, that's when you're going to actually get curious, get excited, get expanded, and most of all, get well. Okay, so with quantum law, it reveals, we understand, and I hope you can accept this, just as I had to, when somebody is authentic and solid and a strong sense of self on the inside, they're much less susceptible to narcissists. Now, that's me now, but it certainly was not my life previously. Many of us have been trained in a codependent model where, through our upbringing, through our epigenetic history, what we took on from our ancestors, we do inherit traumas and fractures in our psyche, in our wiring from our families. We do. It's been proven. And when we've taken that on and we've been in a family where we've been disconnected or not nurtured or taught to have a strong sense of self, What we did is we were focused on trying to fulfill other people's needs to feel loved and accepted. And this is a perfect setup for a narcissist. And we focused on them. What do you need? What do we need to, placate you or make you happy with me or make me love me? We've been earning love and acceptance from others. We've been people pleasing. That's the codependent model. Or maybe we were brought up, as I certainly was, in a family where achievement was rewarded. And that was when you felt loved, when you were like, really achieving great results in your life. So, conditional love, you weren't just loved for being yourself. Okay. So this makes us very, very susceptible to narcissists. So they can manipulate us, and we keep chasing that proverbial rabbit as a greyhound to catch it, to, it's like they always want more from us, and we can never fulfill it, and we can never be loved and accepted by them. We're always wrong. We're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. And we're replaying these old patterns of not believing that we're worthy to be loved and accepted as ourselves, because this person certainly is not delivering that. So now here's where we're very different from narcissists, and it's important to understand that, because unlike narcissists, we do seek love, we do want partnership, we don't want control, we don't want to be controlled, and we don't want to control somebody else. Even though we try to, we lecture and prescribe to them, which is not good either. But we want peace, we want harmony, we want relationship. And we're leaning into that, and we're trying to fix things, and we're trying to lecture and prescribe and bring them to relationship. But doing that, we just lose our power, we lose our rights, we lose our boundaries. And we get so enmeshed and trauma bonded in it that you know what this is like. You feel so addicted, you can't just drop it and walk away. It's like you are tormented through every cell in your being. It's not like this person is an ogre. I can just say enough and I can just walk away. And whether it's a relationship, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's any narcissistic person in your life that has got their hooks into you, and you've handed your power away to them to try to get them to be a decent person, to love and approve of you, and they have sucked your soul, you are literally enmeshed and trauma bonded. Even if it's 20 or 30 years later, you've never seen them, until you've done the inner work, it's like they've put a stamp on your soul. And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, because I went through it too. People don't understand this unless they've been through it. They just think we're making it up, and we're not. It's really, really big. Just say yes in the chat if you relate to this. It's huge. And you literally feel like it's crazy. Like you think you're going mad, but I promise you, you're not. It's consistent. Okay, so our inner work to reverse this, yeah, it's nuts. It's like a black ink that's sucking your soul. Even if you haven't seen them forever, it's just awful. Because you are in a spiritual battle. This is about spiritual consciousness upshiftment. That's what recovery from narcissistic abuse has to be. Otherwise, it's not real. And sadly, people just stuck on researching narcissists and trying to work out the narcissist to try to get relief. It's just wrong town. You're never, ever going to get home that way. And it doesn't work. So it's about the inner work. And our inner work involves finding those unacceptable broken parts within ourselves that we just didn't feel lovable and acceptable. Those parts of us that have been seeking validation, care, love, and acceptance from others, trying to feel whole. And this is where narcissists are the ultimate intelligent predator. Credit where it's due, because they're all very good at it. I've had narcissists over the years contact me because of the work I do and bragged about what I'm about to share with you. They have literally bragged, and too many for it not to be consistent. This is what they do. So what a narcissist does is when they decide they want you for narcissistic supply, you're going to be good for their ego, okay? They will pretend to be really caring and connected and empathetic, and they'll ask you questions to find out what is unhealed within you and then pretend to be the savior of it. It's very simple how they do it. So they may say, like on a dating sense, they're going to say something to you like, you know, you're so beautiful. Why are you single? What happened? You know, how did the last guy mess it up? And you'll go, oh my God, you know, my husband ran off with my best friend and it was just devastating. And he'll go, bingo. And he'll say something like, I can never believe how men play up and do things like that. I would never do that. I would tell the truth. I would work on my relationship. And you go, oh my God, he's so conscious. He's so great. This is what I always wanted. And he's in the door. The Trojan horse is through the gates into Troy, and you shut the gates. You're all celebrating, right? You're in my life. You're in my bed. You're in my heart. You're in my soul. This is my one and only. And rip. Okay? That's how easily they do it. So, and this is why they're predators looking for an injured gazelle at the edge of the pack. They're looking for somebody who's got unhealed wounds that they can pretend to be the savior of. So like, you know, like you might have a really sexy narcissistic woman and they love using their looks for that stuff, you know, and you get a guy who's already susceptible to that, but he's a really good guy. And she'll find out where he was unappreciated, you know, where he had women that just wanted him for whatever. And she will play to that and go, oh my God, I treat my man like a queen. For me, it's all about, you know, I love to give to him and to support him and not make it about myself. And he falls for it, hook, line, and sinker. And she's the Trojan horse through the gates. So this is what happens. So for all of us, and then we're in there and we know what happens. So for all of us, whether you're in it, still in it, and when I mean still in it, it means that you're undergoing this stuff right now, or you're unhealed as yet, and it doesn't matter whether it was 30 years ago and you are still traumatized, because healing is not time, it's state. It's so important to understand. Okay, that means you're still in it. If you're vibrating in it, in frequency, you're in it. Or you're out of it, but you're terrified about how to go forward and I can't open my heart and trust again and it could happen to me again. Well, then you're still in it. I love what Pema Chodron famously said. It's probably my most famous favorite quote ever. Until we learn what something was to teach us, I don't have the exact quote, but what she's saying is nothing in our life will ever end until it's taught us what we needed to learn. So narcissistic abuse is so that the pain of it and being in it doesn't go away until we heal up what we need to. Now, the good news is it's actually so easy, and I really mean that, to heal up what we need to when you do it a quantum way and when you know how to do it. It's not years and decades of therapy and talking and thinking and researching, which is wrong town. It's not that. Through your body, there's a so much easier way to get straight to it. So this whole thing is about loving and accepting ourselves, self-partnering and self-healing, because we can exit being in it. And the vibration of I'm not connected to myself, and therefore I'm susceptible to somebody who purports to be the answer to that, who's not the savior of that. They're actually the messenger of that. They're going to end up showing up for me where I'm not connected to myself. That's why we can't walk away when we're trauma bonded. And I know, like me, you would have, with a false self, you would have been, you scream at yourself, why can't I just walk away? Why can't I know I need to get away. Why am I putting up with this? Why do I keep going back? Why? It's because we haven't healed that fracture between ourselves yet. That's the only reason. Okay, so the shift from them to us is the big deal. This is the big thing. Because we've been focused on them, right? Trying to lecture, prescribe, and fix them and change them. The bottom line is you can never turn a narcissist into a real person because there's no real person there. That's it. Period. Narcissists will not do the inner recovery work to revive their catatonic, broken inner self. And you certainly can't inspire them to do that. They don't want to do it for you, and they don't even want to do it for themselves. And it doesn't mean you're unlovable and you're not worth it. They just do not have the capacity, the resources, or the desire. Okay, this is not personal. Even though it feels so personal, it's not. Narcissists are deeply unconscious and disconnected. They don't know how to survive other than getting and regulating narcissistic supply. They just can't even fathom another way to do it. You know that. You've experienced it. Okay? They are stuck in that universe. And if you stay in it vibrationally, so are you. So there's no breaking through their disordered inner landscape to salvage their real self. You can't salvage their real self. Nobody can salvage anybody else's real self. That has to be a personal choice. Because the real self is in somebody's body. It's their responsibility. It's not even your responsibility. But you can salvage your real self, and that is your responsibility because that's in your body. So the journey from surviving to thriving after narcissistic abuse actually is granting you a pivotal opportunity to stop handing your power away by trying to fix and change the unmakeable deal, and instead turn inwards to heal and change yourself. Now, most people don't know how to do that because all they've ever known is, I'm just going to talk about it, I'm going to think about it, I'm going to research about it. All of those things keep you more mired in it, and they don't even get you out of it. The right recovery work, which is what saved and changed my life, and those of you who know me, you know that I had a complete psychotic adrenal breakdown, that I was told I would need 3 antipsychotics to even function, and I would never function normally again. And I had every trauma symptom through the roof, and I'd lost everything in my life and completely my health and my sanity. Okay, so no amount of talking, thinking, and researching helped me. I did get to that point for years with doing that. And then after that, this is how the epiphany happened. And the right recovery work is frequency healing. And that might sound woo-woo and crazy. It's actually not. It's really simple. A lot of neuroscientists and a lot of somatic healers are getting onto this. The trauma's in our body. We need to do the work there. And it's actually really simple when you start doing it that way. So that actually can address and it can release the traumas and the fractures that unconsciously had set us up for this in the first place. And as Pema Chodron said, when something has taught you what you need to learn, well, then it no longer needs to be in your life. And that's exactly the truth with your trauma symptoms, the narcissist still at you, all of your failed recovery, all of everything you're battling and struggling, all of that dissolves away when you've actually taken your upshift, because it's like the FedEx parcel got delivered, you took your delivery, you unpacked it, and it doesn't have to keep banging on your door anymore. It's the same with this. So this is a shift from devastated and defeated to renewed and reborn. And before I went on this journey, I did it the old contemporary way for years. Before I went the Thrive way, I believe, even before I met him and even before abuse. So this is my old self previous to narcissistic abuse, okay? I believed it was normal to suffer from depression, anxiety, and compulsive behaviors and strive for success and be really hard on myself. I thought that was me and that was just my life, normal life. But after experiencing a catatonic breakdown from narcissistic abuse and upshifting, I was able to realize that myself, even before narcissistic abuse, was exactly the reasons and the unhealed reasons that I was susceptible to it. And after cleaning that up, not only did I get free of the symptoms and the narcissist, my whole life graduated up to more capacity, more strength, more belief in myself, more self-love, safer, more powerful than I'd ever felt in my life, because I healed what I needed to. And this is the opportunity that narcissists give us, disguised as our worst breakdown, actually becomes our most spectacular breakthrough. So let's just wrap this up. When the mask drops, you know a narcissist's false self is terrifying. And it's not just in their rages, right? But it's also in the destruction of everything dear to you, everything that you believed that this person was in your life. It's the destruction of your sanity, your health, your resources, loved ones, and even your soul. Like, it gets really bad. And I also believe this, that everything is happening for us and not to us. And when we're not getting the message, and mind you, we were not trained or educated to get the message. We were trained and educated to just focus on them. But when we're not getting the message, the volume gets turned up by our soul and source and all of life to say, are you hearing this? And the message is to make this all about ourselves, because they're really not that important. They're just a catalyst getting us back to ourselves. They really are. So by letting go of trying to fix them, which you can't do, you can focus on healing and transforming yourself. So we're going from, this is really what the switch is. It's been an outside in seeking our love and validation to an inside out healing into wholeness. That's what this journey has to be. And it's meant to be. Okay? So that's what I do. That's what I did with my own life. And that's what I'm passionate about, getting out there, because there's way too much focus on narcissistic people and not the right focus on ourselves. And I know that you might be listening to this and you might be thinking, well, healing just feels too hard. I've been in therapy, I've been doing, and most of us have for years, honestly. It's incredible how many people that have been in therapy and in self-work who take responsibility who get narcissistically abused, because they didn't know how to really do it from the inside out in a somatic, limbic, quantum way. Changes everything when you know that. And maybe, of course, you feel like you're too far gone, you're too broken, you've lost too much, you're too old, you're too tired, you're too stressed to overcome what you've been through, this battle for your soul and your life. But I assure you, it's not too late and you're not too far gone, because if you've got one breath left, source and your soul and your source force has not finished with you yet. You were not meant to be extinguished. Healing isn't just possible, it's actually probable. You just haven't known how to do it the simple inside out way yet. Okay, so that's what my work's about. I hope that this has enlightened you. And I want to tell you that I've got my free upcoming webinar, which is all about this. I'm going to take you through and explain to you how simple it is to flip 180 degrees on your recovery and make it actually start working. All you've got to do for a ticket for my free webinar to get the details, just put BB in the chat. BB, Beyond Broken, and I'll send you the details. Very simple. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube later in the replay, you're going to have to click the link in the description, okay? Because I can't send you an instant message, but on Facebook I can, and Instagram I can. Yay! I know it's going to help you so much. And even if you think, I don't think that's possible, how can that even happen? Have an open mind and heart. Because it may just be the switch that you go, oh my God, there is hope for me. There's more than hope. There's thriving waiting for you. It's your destiny. It really is. All right, so I've really loved being with you guys today. It's been absolutely amazing. And thank you for all of your love and support for over the years. I want to acknowledge too how far you've come. You know, even to be here and listening to this and for surviving narcissistic abuse, like you've got to be a beast to even get this far. You've done an amazing job and I congratulate you on your progress. And it's my deepest wish that you feel inspired and you can feel uplifted and you can feel hopeful. So please share this video with those you care about, because narc abuse is so common, as we know. And you know what? It's not just personal, it's actually collective. Have a look at the last 4 years on planet Earth. Like, I think everybody has been undergoing narcissistic abuse to some extent. So kind of we all really need to know how to get out of this. All right, I love you heaps. So keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving. And so much love to you, and have a beautiful day. Okay, bye-bye.